On this here, the last day of Craftmas 2021, I'm going to show you some last minute decor things that you can cut with your Cricut to make your Christmas dinner table or lunch table or breakfast table look awesome. So what I've done is I have designed a little place card pop-out thingy. I unfortunately couldn't design it in Cricut Design Space as I'm not sure if it's possible, and if it is possible, I'm not quite sure how to do it yet. So I will work on that one, and if I do figure it out, I will do a tutorial on it. So keep your fingers crossed, hold your thumbs for me being able to figure that out at some point in the future. But I did design it in a different software, so I designed it in Silhouette Studio as I'm very familiar with that software and it was a lot easier for me to do. And I saved it as an SVG and imported it into Cricut Design Space. So that is what we're going to be cutting. And I'm going to be cutting it on my Maker 3 because I want to actually use the score function as well. So essentially what we're going to do is we're going to cut out the little card, use the pen to draw it and also score some of the lines, and then we can even color them in afterwards if we want to. So what I have done here is I've essentially taken some images from Cricut Access and I imported them into Silhouette Studio by just using a screenshot and tracing them, and then built the box. And like I said, I'll go over that in a different tutorial, as otherwise this one is going to be far too long. But what I'm going to be doing here is I'm actually going to be cutting all of these together. So essentially what it'll do is it'll score along this line, it'll cut along that line, and it'll draw the other lines. And then we can color in if we really want to at the end. So I'm going to highlight everything and click attach just to make sure that it is all one piece that'll cut, score, and draw all together. And then of course we're going to go to the Make It panel. But of course I can't share this, unfortunately, number one, because you can't export from Cricut Design Space, and number two, because the files that I used were actually from Cricut Access, and I'm pretty sure you're not allowed to share those externally. So just to make sure that I'm not breaking any rules here, because for me copyright is a very big thing, and if you don't have the rights to share an image, you shouldn't be sharing them. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to switch on my machine and load up the page. What I actually did was I originally planned to make it on the Joy, so I've already cut up a sheet of cardstock, so I'm going to see if I can still use these pieces of cardstock. Let's hope I can. So I'm going to be loading the scoring stylus first, as the scoring is always the first action that it makes. So we just put it in and we hear a click and we close the A carriage. And I've got my pen handy as well, because when that is finished, it'll then ask you to change to the pen. So we're going to have the pen ready, and then we'll put the pen in once that's done. So now that the page is loaded, we are all ready to go. So open that back up, get the mat ready, and then watch it go. Not me completely being a chop and forgetting to add the names onto the tags. Duh. You know, I mean, why else would you make name place cards? Anyway, so they're done. But I'm actually not going to take anything off, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the names on in Design Space. Let's see if we can get the placement right. It might not be exact or perfect, but that's okay. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to the text function. We're going to type in, so I'm going to type in all the names, but I'm going to start out with one. So I'm going to type in my husband's name. This already has a font selected because this was the font that I wanted to use, but how I got this font was I opened the fonts and I clicked on the filters. You can see there's already one filter applied. So I selected the writing filter, and what this does is it filters out all of the fonts that aren't suitable for writing. So you'll see here it says single layer cutting writing. So which is really useful because not all fonts look very nice when it comes to writing, but this will help you to choose the right font. It'll kind of narrow your options down a little bit. So as an example, if we clicked on this one, it'll choose the writing style of that particular font. So the style you can see here, it says writing or it's regular. So if you have it regular, it'll look like that. And you see how it actually completely changes the style when it's writing, because it knows that that's the kind of look that you're going for. So I'm just going to undo the changes that I made there, because I actually really like this font. And I'm going to resize it a little bit and place it onto the card. Now again, like I said, hopefully these are going to line up, but let's see. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate it. So I'm going to right click and duplicate, and I'm sort of going to change. So you double click it and then you change the name. So I'm going to put then my name, and we're going to try and center it a little bit, and then we're going to do the same for each and every name that we have. So so what I've done now is I just clicked Control C and I'm clicking Control V to get the fonts, or to get the names on each of the little tags. Okay, now that I've got all the names, I'm just going to try and center them as much as possible with the naked eye. So what I'm going to do here is I can't attach everything, because if I attach everything, then what it's going to do is it's going to then redraw, recut, etc. everything. We don't want that. So I'm going to select all of the names, I'm going to attach all of the names, and I'm going to hide everything else. But what I need to make sure of is that I'm getting the placement right. So I need to kind of roughly measure the edge of the box where the mat would be. So I'm going to create a square, and I'm going to make this 30 by 30, and I'm going to send it to the back. So I know that the edge of this line at the bottom here was on one of the lines on the mat. So I'm going to try and line that up. But now what I need to do here is to try and gauge how far that is. So if I zoom in a little, I can then see the mark. So that's 10 centimeters, 20 centimeters, 30 centimeters. So it's kind of on the 2 centimeter line or so. So let's chance it. What's the worst that can happen? So I'm going to hide the square, and I'm going to hide the other part, and we're going to click make it. Obviously it'll push everything then right up to the top. But let's see if we can get this alignment right. So the bottom of the place card is on the 20 centimeter line. So we're just going to move it up a little bit like that. And I think that's roughly 2 centimeters from the edge. A little bit of a gamble. It'll probably be off center, but that's okay. And I'm going to chance it, and I'm going to click continue. And then we're going to see what happens. Okay, well, thank heavens that wasn't a total bust, because it pretty much came out perfect. So we peel them off like that. And then essentially what you do with this one is you fold it over on the scored lines like that. Whoop. Wrong score place, Kelly. And that is your little place card. So it has a little pop-up, half of a cutout, and it sits on your placemat like that. So then everybody knows where they're sitting at the table. Like I said, it's almost perfectly centered. Almost. But I mean, pretty much nailed that one, right? So you don't really have to do a place card with a little pop-up. What is nice about this is that it looks a little bit different. And the moment that I do find out how to do it on Cricut Design Space, I will, of course, like I said, make a tutorial. But what you can also do is you can just make a simple place card setting. So you can take something from Cricut Access, change it to pen, put a score line in. So you just insert a line itself as a score line so that you can fold it in half. And then you can just insert a box to cut it. So it'll be a little bit simpler than this, but of course, it'll still look amazing, and it is a super quick, super last minute thing that you can do for your table and make it a little bit cuter, decorate it a little bit, wow people with your amazing Cricut skills. But I hope that you enjoyed the video. Please give it a thumbs up, as this has been a very, very, very long 3 weeks, and I'm very looking forward to a little bit of rest after this, and I hope that you have an amazing holiday season, and I will see you in my next video. And remember, be kind to someone today. See you soon.